Today we're talking about why the INFJ always has a card up their sleeve that nobody knows about. The INFJ is a very strategic type, and it's something that we have to be aware of going into this video, because the way we actually use this tactic is something that will keep us safe. But very often this actually causes us problems because we're not making it conscious. We're not aware of it. So when I'm talking about the INFJ has a card up their sleeve, it's about every single interaction that you have with another person, every single dynamic. There's always something that we hold back. And we use that as something that will preserve ourselves, that will save ourselves in the worst case scenario. So today we're going to talk about what this is really about, how we can use this to our advantage, what kind of setbacks this brings, and if you're aware of it, how you can bypass those as well. Before we get started though, remember, if you haven't done this so far, to download the poster on the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life. That will already help you to move into the direction of creating that INFJ epic life that you're looking for. And if you want to take it to the next level, then get the audio guide. It will help you to make big changes in your life. And you can listen to it on your commute. You can listen to it when you're working out. And there's a lot of material that comes with it. So go check it out. All the information you find in the links in the description. So let's look at this in a very specific situation. You meet somebody else. Whatever it may be. It might be a coworker, it might be, a love interest, it might be somebody that you're friends with. What is the typical INFJ thing to do? You hold back. You become the observer. This is the typical thing. We actually hollow ourselves out, meaning we allow people to be themselves as much as possible. We generate a level of trust by being non-judgmental, by being open, by allowing people to be who they are. What do? They start trusting us. They start opening up. They start showing what they're about, what kind of judgments they have, what kind of weaknesses they have, and so on. This is something that you might say, okay, I'm doing this in order to find out about another person. I'm doing this also because I want to be kind. I want to give another person the opportunity to be themselves and to really tell them and show them through my actions that the way they are is just beautiful. It's perfect. There's no need for them to hide anything from you. But what we very often underestimate is how much we're doing this also as a way to protect ourselves. Because yes, you're showing a way of, oh, I'm not judging you. But the thing is, you do judge them. Think about it. If another person tells you something and they show you, I have certain understandings, or I have certain judgments, or I have certain ideas, there is a judgment going on within you. You just don't show it. You tell yourself, yeah, I don't judge them, although they do this and this, although they have these certain ideas. Guess what? The fact that you're even thinking about it already shows you that you do judge them. And on top of that, the other person is showing you things that you see differently, that you would do differently. It can be anything, as in another person shows you what kind of music you listen to. It's not the same music you listen to, but you're okay with that. You're open to that. Does that person know what kind of music you're listening to? No, because you're not showing them. They tell you about their political views. Do you tell them about your political views? No, most of the time you don't. You say, oh, I'm open to that. I understand how you come to that conclusion from your point of view. The other person has an understanding of what is right or wrong, whatever it may be. You're open to it. You allow them to be themselves, but you're not showing them things that you know or that you suppose the other person isn't going to like. Think about it. Specifically, if you know the other person would judge you for the kind of music you listen to, the other person would judge you for the kind of friends you have. This typical thing, the INFJ keeps their friendship groups separate. Why do you think that is? It is because you are a different version with every single one of those groups. And if that one group would see how you act when you're in the presence of group B, they would have a different perception of you. They would judge you somehow. And this is what the INFJ does as, having a card up their sleeve. Because the truth is, you are acting in a way that you're one step ahead because you know something about them that they don't know about you. And this can be a huge advantage in life, right? Because if you know this, you can really protect yourself in certain situations. You can make sure that you are not creating conflict where conflict isn't necessary. Like, this isn't some manipulative, mean thing. It's a way we go through life, and it's a way of protecting ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes in two ways. And if we're able to understand those two ways and then make choices that help us to even optimize that, you are actually making the best out of everything. On the one hand, you're really making sure, okay, I'm being kind to others, I'm not judging them, I'm allowing them to be themselves, but at the same time, I'm making sure that problems that are just like a byproduct of this don't ever come up. So what are the problems? They're twofold. The first problem is that at some point, you're going to slip up. At some point, they're going to see how you are when you're with a friendship group B. At some point, they're going to see that you have different political understandings than them. At some point, they're going to understand that you have actually let them talk on and on about how they like a certain person and they don't like another person. And then they find out that you actually have no problem with the second person, when before you kept your mouth shut. You allowed them to speak negatively about the other person and you gave them the impression that you had the same understanding. At some point, the person is going to see that you let them on. And don't tell me this hasn't happened to you, because I know it has. It has happened to me so many times. And what does the typical INFJ think in that moment? What did I think most of the time? I felt like, but I had no bad intentions. Why are they acting this way? I'm just, trying to be nice. Like, what is the big deal? Like, we don't understand why a person just suddenly, gets scared of us or intimidated or is mad at us and just ghosts us. That is why. Because they had the impression that you're like them. That's why they open up to you. But it was a facade. And we have to understand that on some level, this is just who we are. We're not doing this because we have bad intentions or because we want to hurt another person, but it is part of how we think, because in the end, we do understand others so well. And when you do that, you automatically are going to have some level of this. Right? The people who are all open and the people who say things that might rub other people the wrong way right away, those are types that are not really aware, that are not very empathetic, right? So these things will happen one way or another. We cannot really hide from the fact that we are this way. But if we understand that at some point people are going to get a glimpse of who you are, you can really minimize the negative outcomes of these relationships by being aware that from now on, you're going to start showing people more of what you think, knowing that these are things that they're not going to like. And this is a painful process. This is not an easy thing to do. But as I always say, we as INFJs can do hard things. We have the mental strength to make this happen. So if you meet somebody new, or if you say, I want to change, certain dynamics that I already have in my life, because I don't want these things to happen. I don't want people to be, taken back because they understand something about me for the first time that I just, haven't showed them, or I have led them to believe something else. See, I'm not saying you have to be completely transparent. It's not like I go around and tell everybody, yeah, I'm an INFJ coach. I'm a YouTuber. I have these understandings of how life works. I have certain beliefs, all of this way, because of course things are going to rub people the wrong way in some capacity. But I'm not hiding certain things. I'm not leading people on as much as I possibly can, of course, because of course there are things that people are going to project onto me that I have no control over, or I'm not acting in the best way for myself and for others as I can. But I'm making it a point to say, okay, I'm going to show people certain things. One example was that a friend that I had for a very long time that I knew was going to be judgmental about the music that I listened to, because the way she interpreted that was completely different than how I interpreted that. For me, it was like, oh, this music is all about energy, and this music is all about, feeling powerful and, creating something in life. When the way she was seeing that music, it was all about, okay, that's not something that is empowering. That is not something that we should listen to. It suggests things that are not in alignment with her beliefs. I was looking at the music from a completely different perspective than her. But I knew this was how she was going to see this. So I made it a point to say, I'm going to, Show her that this is the music that I listen to, knowing she's going to judge it, but let that be the case. Because think about all the people in your life that you accept, that you love, that you appreciate. They're not doing everything the way you would, and you still accept them, you still love them, you still appreciate them. Give yourself the same appreciation. Allow yourself to be liked, loved, adored, accepted, understood, even if you have different perspectives than other people. Let people judge you and still like you. This is what we can give ourselves as the biggest gift. So this is actually when we get to point 2, right? Point 1 is you're not even going to get into those problems of people are mad at you because they see you've been playing a role, for however long you've known them. The second point is that you're actually going to feel way more connected with people. Because if you're hiding parts of yourself, you're also not allowing authentic connection. We as INFJs, we think, I have the most authentic connections. I'm, allowing people to be themselves. But guess what? We're not having authentic connections if we're not showing parts of ourselves because we know people are not going to like those parts. This is not an authentic connection. An authentic connection is not where you say, I'm being vulnerable because I show you that I like you, although you haven't shown this to me yet, right? This is not vulnerability because we have that card up our sleeve. We know that in the end, we know more about them than they know about us. And it's not just because we're so empathetic and we can understand them and we can read people, but it's also because we're not showing anything. We're not showing who we are. We're not showing that we're different than them because people are not going to understand it. People are going to judge it. Well, let them judge. Let them not understand. But you should give yourself the gift of saying, I'd rather be disliked for who I am than to be liked for something that I'm not. The less you show, the more you allow people to project onto you whatever they want, positively or negatively. And that image will crumble the more you allow yourself to be authentic. And again, authentic does not mean, the superficial vulnerability that we do by default of, I'm, telling them my feelings or whatever it is. No, it's actually being, selfish in certain situations. It's saying, this is what I want. I care about myself. Like all of those things that are not considered kind or, whatever it may be. Like so many INFJs do this, that they say, I'm going to act in such a way that nobody could say that I'm mean in any way, that I'm, acting self-righteously or, as somebody who's thinking all about themselves. No, I'm kind to everybody in all of this. When in the end, it is a form of self-protection, right? Because we do have parts of ourselves that are all about, I want this for me. And these are the things I like. And this is what I want. Dare to show that to the outside. And you're still going to have so many advantages because then yes, in certain situations, it does make sense not to reveal myself completely. But I'm doing it on a conscious level. And that way, I'm making sure we don't have the problems later on when they do see parts of yourself. And secondly, you can finally feel like you're connected. This is when you stop feeling lonely. This is when you start feeling real connection with your life and the world. And you stop feeling like this outsider who's looking in. This can only happen if you say, I'm daring to show parts of myself that people are going to judge. And through that, you make the connections. And this grounds you. It gives you a completely different outlook in life. And that's when you really start growing. This is a difficult thing to do because, of course, we have fear of abandonment. Of course, we want social inclusion. And don't tell me, we're INFJs, we don't care about social inclusion. Yeah, maybe not as much as most types, but we are human after all, meaning there are parts in our brain that need inclusion, that need to be part of a group, because this keeps you safe on a very deep psychological level. So admit that to yourself and get to a point where you say, if I want to feel included, and I'm not talking about, you're part of a group and people give you the impression they include you and all of that. No, I'm talking about you feel included. You feel you're connected. You feel like you have authentic connections with people in a way that fulfill your life. That's where we want to get to. And you're going to make this happen if you first make it all conscious. You know that this is what you do with that card up your sleeve. That's okay. But you're going to make conscious choices of showing parts of yourself, knowing that people are going to judge them, because it allows you to have long-lasting, authentic relationships that are not based on you playing a role in order to make other people feel good. Remember to download the poster on the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life if you want some more help on how to make this happen. It will guide you to where to push and make those changes in order to have the strength to really change and be more authentically you and enjoy that process. And if you say, now's the time for me to go full throttle, I'm ready for it, then get the INFJ Epic Life audio guide, and that will help you tremendously. All the links you find in the link in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video Why the INFJ Breaks Egos Without Even Trying.